Welcome everyone to the latest episode of Deep Dive with Richard Haydarian. I'm not sure Justice Carpio has been seeing the memes, the whole sub-Sahara, sub-Europe. Anyway, joining you from subtropical Manila, kasama po natin Justice Antonio Carpio, one of the greatest ever. Thank you very much, Justice, for joining us.
Thank you, Richard, for having me. And uh, uh, I want to greet our viewers for bearing with us.
I thought you said bearing with Richard. I would be okay. I will accept that, Justice. Again, let me reiterate, I'm from the deepest recesses of my heart, love na love ko Mindanao. Kaya nga, isa sa mga favorite guests ko is my fellow Ilocano, Davaoenyo, Justice Carpio. Justice Carpio, marami tayong pag-usapan. My God, ang dami natin. It's a gallery of rogues. Okay. I don't know where to start before I go to Bato kasi mukhang mag ano na sila mag-awkward mutiny na yata sa Senate, mag-siege na sila. Before talking about Bato and talking about Duterte and potentially plans to create chaos in Mindanao, I was kanina with some people with military security backgrounds. We were seriously discussing it because I was also giving a lecture also to a visiting delegation from a top US university. But having said that, let's start with the most serious topic of the day. Harry Roque, apparently, Justice Carpio is applying for asylum for political persecution. So, wait, Justice, sinakyan ba niya yung issue ni Duterte to get himself off the hook? Did he just like use Duterte as an excuse? What is going on here, Justice?
Well, I think his application does not fall under any of the grounds uh, recognized by Netherlands for granting political asylum. There's no threat on his life here. And it's just a subpoena by the House. It's not even a court case against him. And the House will expire this June 30, and the subpoena will also expire. So by the time the Dutch authorities go over his case, there will be no subpoena anymore. Because
Except, but Justice, I don't know if you've seen the memes of nakasmile si General Bato, andito si Kiboloy. Nakaganyan si General Bato, andito si Digong. And then next nakaganon si General tapos ni si Harry Roque nasa picture. It looks like he's next in line. At least yun yung parang before we talk about Bato, by the way, who's really next in line, but if you're Harry Roque, Justin, wouldn't you be worried that because of his alleged involvement with Pogos, what alleged human trafficking among others, na eventually it will come for him? Or wait lang, Justice, are you spreading false information para umuwi rin si Harry Roque?
well, the Pogos are not part of the ICC investigation. So, but I think the ICC can also investigate those who aid and abet uh, extrajudicial killings, and Harry has been defending the side of former President Duterte. So, but they might not bother with him because there are more people with more serious offenses in the extrajudicial killings. So they'll probably not include him in the warrant of arrest, although he would fall under aiding and abetting, but maybe it's too low in the totem pole.
Wait lang, Justice. I'm just, I mean, it's a tragic comedy. I don't know how you felt when you first saw Digong basically jet lagged. He couldn't barely say, I mean, let's not forget that this is the same Digong in Hong Kong, like he was like Kung Fu, like the Bruce Lee guy behind me. This is the same Digong in November in Quadcom who said, uupakan ko yung mga yan judges na yan. This is the same Digong next to Kiboloy last year, making joke na he's gonna look like sick, tapos di ba nagaganyan-ganyan siya. But nevertheless, feeling ko na jet lag talaga siya kasi ang haba nung ano nila, di ba? Yung layover nila sa Dubai. Was there an effort to sabotage it?
Well, I don't know about that. Well, the delays are normal in that long flight. Uh, but I think they were kind to him. He was not required to go to the the ICC hearing. It was just a video link
From his hotel or something like that?
from his well, from the cell, from the
Oh,
prison.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's officially. I'm like, ang ganda naman kasi first world eh. Um, wow. Justice, ang daming pwedeng pag-usapan ngayon. Kasi ganito, Justice. I mean, I was imagining. First of all, how do you rate from 1 to Salvador Panelo? How bad was the performance of Medial Dia? Like he couldn't even read. Like what was he thinking about? Appeal to emotions yung gagawin niya. That was that was a very sophomoric. Sorry, I mean no offense meant to sophomores, but that was a terrible intervention by Medel Dia. Is he even competent to stand there?
Well, he was harping that the President Duterte, was kidnapped, uh, but the doctrine being applied by the ICC in several cases now is they don't care how you were brought to the ICC. The moment you're there, they'll take jurisdiction over you and proceed with the trial. So uh, he probably didn't read the jurisprudence of the ICC on the manner of seizure of suspects being brought to the ICC.
I want to talk a little bit more about that because former ICC judge and our compatriot Dr. Professor Raul Pangalangan already finally came out and talked about multiple precedents, including the case of the Ugandan the warlord that he oversaw as the ICC judge. But before going there, Justice, I still cannot let go of this Harry Roque case because this is really surreal. Because I was imagining a situation that Harry Roque is there defending Digong, and then suddenly just says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we have to stop this. There is a warrant of arrest." Or yeah, but what you're saying is, but I think what we were saying is there could be even a crazier situation that Harry Roque's own statements against Digong as a mass murderer could be cited in the court, right? I mean,
Yes,
it's
I'm sure
crazy.
the prosecution will submit that in evidence because there's still that video. It's still in YouTube where Harry Roque said, "Do not vote for Duterte because he is a serial murderer." I mean, he was serious. This was during the election. He said, "Do not vote." And in fact, he said, "Just don't. You should not only not vote, but you should campaign against him." He was saying that.
Yeah. Kaya nga sabi ko, Justice Carpio, Harry Roque is a verb. You know, when you pull off something like that, you're a verb. Like, don't Harry Roque me, you know?
So I can just imagine the prosecutor presenting that in evidence that he's the lawyer of Duterte saying that his client, President Duterte, is a serial murderer.
According to his own current, can't, okay, just, I know this is a real court. This is not just a mumbo jumbo kangaroo court, but remember like how Republicans, including JD Vance, right? They will like acrobatic. No, no, no. Everything I said against Trump, now I'm a believer. I'm a converted believer. Mga ganyan. He cannot do that to say to the court. No, no, he cannot go like, now I'm MAGA. I realize Trump is the greatest ever thing that happened to America. Hindi sila pwede mag Justice Carpio.
No, because they will completely be bereft of credibility. That's the big problem for Harry, really, because he himself said that Duterte is a serial murderer.
Mm. Where does
Is
that
that
leave?
his problem?
Where does that leave Salvador Panelo, who's just filing hard copy cases? But like every time I see Salvador Panelo, may hawak ng papel. Is that like his
Well,
shtick?
he filed a petition for habeas corpus, but the ICC is not uh, under the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, so they will just the ICC will just ignore. And of course, the Supreme Court will not issue habeas corpus because they know their order will be ignored because they don't have any jurisdiction over the ICC. So that petition, I think, will just be dismissed.
And last time I checked, Duterte people took themselves out of ICC, so they cannot now invoke provisions of ICC to protect themselves, right? Um, sige, I don't want to beat on too much on Harry Roque, baka we bump into each other soon. So, baka mag-meet kami, oh, kamusta ka na? Di ba? Parang ano, although I'm not sure Den Haag will be his type. I mean, kung Dubai, ano ka, if Abu Dhabi, Casablanca, Den Haag is a boring place, I would say. But Justice, going back to this, let's talk about seriously about this. So, so Judge Pangalangan made it absolutely clear na itong kidnapping, actually rendition, or to be honest, even yung idea na extraordinary to ito doesn't make sense because if you look at the precedents here, this is really how it works with ICC. If you're after warlords, they're never going to come in, hand in cuff volunteering themselves. You're talking warlords in Uganda. You're talking about Sinaloa related, doctors, Mexican doctors. You're talking about Adolf Eichmann being taken, by, I don't know, Mossad or Shin Bet from Argentina to Israel to face justice. So parang, so his basic understanding is walang basihan sa international law. Itong sinasabi. I also, as I said previously, I was on Inside Story on Al Jazeera together with si Mr. Ocampo, yung dating ICC chief prosecutor, and it was also absolutely clear he had a very similar stance. Now, it's not like Bashir or yung other dictators or strongmen who ended up. They were not like nicely handed over, right? It was always a kind of seemingly fugitive, manhunted situation.
Yeah, that's actually that's also followed in the U.S. and many other countries follow that rule. That's expressed in the Latin maxim, "Male captus, bene detentus." I mean, you are wrongfully uh, arrested, but the detention is good, is
It's
valid.
valid. Yeah. Uh, Yeah, exactly. Like um
So all what they're doing now is saying that he was illegally arrested. There was no warrant of arrest. That one is passed already. That will not be considered at all by the ICC.
yeah, and no right was violated, right? Parang yun ang idea nila, 'di ba? Na parang Duterte's rights were like inherent rights were parang irreversibly like violated ganun. None of that flies with ICC.
Yes, because the ICC did not take part in that illegal seizure. They just received Duterte, and Duterte was voluntarily surrendered by the Philippine government. So you cannot fault the ICC.
Okay, now let's go to the mechanics before we go to Bato kasi I think Bato should listen very carefully because this could be his future. So my understanding is that usually the pre-trial process within 4 to 6 weeks yan. Bakit September pa? Is it because mabigat yung mga kaso? This looks a pretty long period na yung
Well,
pre-trial
for
proper
two
will
reasons,
start
yeah.
September pa. Parang tagal.
Yeah, for two reasons. First, that will give time for the defense and the prosecution to gather all their evidence, to prepare everything. And secondly, they have a lot of cases also. So uh,
Oh, I
it's not
see.
that
Kung
it's
ano.
not that they're not doing anything. They can devote all their time to this case, but they have a lot of cases, and normally it takes 8 to 10 years for a case to be finally resolved. But I think this one will take. Uh, they can resolve this faster because all the evidence for the prosecution are in already. Because you have a this is unusual because you have here the uh, the Duterte death squad uh,
Bato
turning
and Las
state
Cañas.
witness, no,
Yeah.
turning witness against him. So there, I think three of them. So and then he had the lot. He has a lot of extrajudicial confessions. All his statements in media, in the Quadcom, in the Senate hearing, saying I am responsible for everything. I ordered the killing. These are admissible in evidence.
Including by Harry Roque saying it's
Yeah.
laki ng problema niya. Can't he afford another lawyer? Di ba may mga, sino yung mga hinari na? Was that like that Israeli guy from Cambridge or something? Parang may mga foreign, may mga AFAM siyang lawyers, di ba? Di ba parang may
Well,
mga,
I read only that Cambridge guy and
yeah, that
Harry
came,
Roque and
yeah.
and ano, si Medaldea and the vice president.
The vice president, I'm not sure how she. I mean,
The
I don't.
vice president might also be an accused
Ah,
because
I thought accredited lawyers. ICC. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. So this is interesting, Justice. So actually, the fact that sobrang tagal mag-start yung pre-trial phase does not mean that the trial itself and potential, or some would say prospective, if not very probabilistic conviction, will come earlier. So you're seeing the low range of possibly within 2 to 3 years. 3 years we could have a conviction already, right?
yeah, uh, that's optimistic, but I think it's doable because there are just so many evidence against Duterte. He has dozens, more than a dozen of admissions under oath because the proceedings in Quadcom and the Senate were under oath. So uh, these are statements acknowledging guilt.
Mga judges sa ICC, like, is this a joke? I'm like, this guy has been implicated. How many episodes we had about Duterte? I mean, he must be the sloppiest alleged international criminal, right? Like, he's so sloppy. I mean, his own lawyer said things about him before. I mean, he says things about himself. I mean,
Well,
so
because he never thought that he would be arrested and brought to the Hague, no? Uh, he never envisioned this to happen. So that's why during the first hearing, he was so contrite, no?
So he never envisioned this because I think gusto natin balikan yung first theory natin nung nag-press conference tayo. So since we have talked justice, there are evolving theories. One theory is may bumaliktad, right? Um, may mole. Now, the Ronald Llamas version of mole was more like Sicario, like 007. But the one that is appearing now is more like someone very close to him daw. And someone na hindi rin gusto ng kabila ng pamilya na. Like, what do you say about that, Justice?
Well, it's all
People what, stabbing each
speculation.
other for mileage because they're competing to be Duterte's heir? I mean, what's going on here? Grabe yung
Well,
mga marites na yan, ha?
I really don't know. We don't have any evidence. So a lot of speculation going on, and there's even one saying that Duterte planned this.
Harikiri niyan, samurai.
He planned this because he will be acquitted by the ICC. That's why he was willing to
Oh,
go
wow.
there.
Oh, wow.
I really cannot understand.
That's what I'm saying. It's so. I mean, I never had a high regard for Duterte's intelligence and all, and I always wondered how he got through, which is really a indictment on our system. I mean, Justice, diba? He should have been disqualified from even running for president. It's, diba? His very presidency is an anomaly. He should have been disqualified. Diba yung replacement pa lang niya? I mean, I don't know. What is your stance? You think legit yung pagka-replacement niya noon nung tumakbo siya ng 2016? I mean, I know that there are many people who raise questions even on the legality of that.
Yeah, but they did not pursue it, so it's really water under the bridge. Uh, but we never thought that he would be brought to the Hague, but he was brought, and it changes everything because it's affecting also the domestic politics here. And I
Right.
think Sara is also, well, potentially she might also be the subject of a warrant of arrest. So it's going to totally upset our domestic politics here.
Speaking of upset, I'm gonna talk about Mindanao stuff a little bit later on. I'm already not waters. Um, um, Justice, I wanna go back to this again. If the problem kasi nakikita namin dito is the press conference that BBM and his team gave right after the arrest, right? This is the day after we did our own press conference. Was not I mean, kung sophomoric yung isa, ito not parang medyo juniorish, right? If I can put it that way. It was not the most, kasi ang basa ko kay BBM is, he's still hedging because alam niya marami rin hindi natuwa dito at pwede mag-turn yung public opinion sa kanya. Kasi parang marami pa rin naawa kay Digong. I don't know if you're doing what I'm doing. Parang my own kalye survey. Ang dami kong mga nakausap na folks. Parang, just, and then say, kawawa naman, matanda na, ganyan-ganyan, di ba? So, maybe BBM, the reason na medyo hapyaw-hapyaw yung mga sinabi niya is because he doesn't, kasi you would expect him to rally the nation, di ba? This is the moment of vindication, this is the moment of justice, blah, blah. Pero hindi rin eh. Nag-octopus na naman siya on one hand, on the other hand. I don't know, what is your read? You think that was politically smart, but communication-wise, like, meh?
Well, I think basically he understands that uh, President Duterte still has a substantial following. That's one. Second, he's caught in a bind because he already committed not to cooperate with the ICC. So it would not look good if he would be turning back on his word because he repeatedly stated that he will not cooperate. So that's why they have to think of this uh, assistance. They're using the Interpol. Uh, so uh, it's a very they painted themselves into a corner, and it's difficult for them to get out. But luckily, there's that principle in international law adopted by the ICC that the ICC will not inquire into the manner of the arrest. As long as you are handed over to the ICC, they will proceed with the trial. So
Yeah.
this one becomes a sideshow now. Even if our Supreme Court will say that uh, he should be they should have secured a warrant of arrest from a Philippine judge, it's too late because he cannot be brought back here anymore.
So ano yung mga memes na lumilitaw na bring back Digong, bring back the man? Parang sabi ko, bakit ano ba nangyari? Like, tapos ang mean ng mga tao, ano bang gamit? Shopee, Zalora, or Timo? Paano ba? I mean, people are so mean. Grabe talaga yung mga tao. Bring back our hero, mga ganun. Um, Going back to this justice, kasi the reason I'm asking about the problem basically that the administration has is now we're gonna go to the Bato case, diba? Kasi um it comes off as political convenience, political calculus move, right? Whatever they want to say about cooperation with Interpol, blah blah blah, we have no choice. My thing is, wouldn't it be smart? It might come off as damage control, but I will take that for the sake of the victims. For him to call for on the Congress to rejoin the ICC in the next Congress and also form, of course, hindi kaya ng, you know this, I mean, Supreme Executive cannot do this, but the legislature could go and push for a Truth and Justice Commission, or I don't know, something like a Justice Commission, Reconciliation Commission. Isn't that the next logical move to give a kind of a moral ballast and gravitas to this move?
Well, I agree. I'm in favor of returning to the ICC. We rejoined the ICC. I think uh, that's good because we don't want another Duterte to be committing extrajudicial killings amounting to 30,000 people dead. No, so I think going back to the ICC will probably scare any would-be Duterte from doing
Exactly.
this again. Uh, the the other thing is for the Truth Commission. Well, that's okay, but uh, there will be cases that the cases in the case in the ICC will continue, and that I think will people will follow that because that's the actual trial of Duterte, and the Truth Commission might be overshadowed.
Hindi
We
pwede
still have a lot of we still have a lot of lower echelon people who actually did the killing, who actually pulled the trigger. And what do we do with that? Because
kaya nga, can't the commission be more about that, na the systematic nature of this beyond just the headmaster, right? Or beyond the chief architect? Because Digong is the chief architect, and we'll talk about Bato very shortly, right? But there were hundreds of officers potentially involved in this. So this is a security sector reform. This is a national healing, right? Parang healing process issue, right? So hindi kaya kailangan ng isang komite or isang commission kung saan yung mga biktima, they can come out, their stories could be heard because they're not gonna have that in ICC, right? Maybe Matubato, Alascanes, whatever, but something more mas malawakan, and then gawa tayo ng museum na never again, something like that. Hindi kaya yun yung parang next logical step, Justice? But I just don't
Well,
see the other way eh.
this is similar to what happened right after martial law because our military, right after martial law, the military personnel were used to abuses, human rights abuses, and they had to shift. It took some time. The military, the top brass, made a conscious effort to uh, embed the idea of human rights. So they went through several courses on human rights until they imbibed it, and now you'd hardly see here widespread human rights abuses from the military. But our problem is those who actually did the killing are still there in the PNP now, and they have developed a mindset that they can just kill civilians at any time,
Yeah.
and that's a dangerous mindset. Now, how do you solve that? How do you remove them, or how do you take away that mindset from them? So we'll have to go through a crash course of human rights education uh, to all of the PNP personnel in the same way that the military leadership went through uh, did to the soldiers after martial law. So there has to
Yeah,
be
you
a
seek the sector reform. Yeah.
an educational program for them to so that they will throw away this mindset of extrajudicial killing because the people are there. Once you have done this, once you've crossed that divide that you can kill another without any due process, that they will be using this throughout their career already. So we have to uh, re-indoctrinate them. I mean, re-educate them and reinstill the value of human rights. And for me, that will take time. It took probably 10 years for the military really to change their mindset. So it will probably take another 10 years for the police to change its mindset.
Well, the other implication of this ICC is it's an indictment on our justice system, 'di ba? Ang ibig sabihin niyan, nag-fail yung justice system natin, 'di ba? Katulad ng sinabi ni, for instance, ni Judge Pangalangan, nangyari ito dahil wala naman korte uh, taking on this case, 'di ba? At mukhang malabo na any judge was ever willing or would have ever been willing to take on Rodrigo Duterte on any of these cases regardless of the gravity of the evidence, right? So ito po,
Well,
indictment din ito sa ating justice system, Justice Carpio, in a way that we have to
yes.
wait for ICC to do this.
Yeah, it's an indictment of our justice system. But remember, the justice system, there are several elements. It's not only the judiciary. A lot of that is the executive because
Law
the
enforcement.
justice system starts with investigation of the crime. That's done by PNP and the
Okay.
NBI.
Ay, sorry.
After the
Yeah.
investigation, you have a preliminary investigation that's done by the DOJ. That's all. They are all under the office of the president. After the uh, preliminary investigation, they will have to prepare and file the information, the criminal information that's done by the DOJ. That's under the office of the president. And then you have to prosecute. The prosecution is done by the DOJ under the office of the president. The last part is the judgment, the decision. That's now the court, the judiciary. But the judiciary is a passive. They will wait for the information to be filed. They will wait for the prosecution to present the evidence. So because the judiciary has to be neutral, to be fair, it will be passive. So a lot of the work will be the work of the executive branch. So when you speak of failure of the justice system, you're really talking of the work of the executive branch. And that's why up to today, there has been no criminal information filed before any court against Duterte. And so how can you blame the judiciary when there was no case filed against Duterte? They cannot decide a case that was never filed with them. So
So what you're saying, the problem is from downstream, and downstream is
yeah,
executive agencies. Yeah.
and this is where and Duterte controls all of this. They controls the NBI, the PNP, the judiciary, the prosecution service are all under his control. Control means he can reverse them at any time. He can instruct them what to do. So that's why there was no investigation against Duterte while he was a president. The other thing is, as president, he cannot even be sued while in office.
Immunity, yeah. Sovereign
Yeah,
immunity.
so it was really a case of the government being unable and unwilling to investigate and prosecute Duterte. So that's why the ICC came in. So uh, how can they say that we we uh, we should have we should not turn over this case to the ICC? But how do you prosecute Duterte during when he was president? He was the one who was giving instruction to the PNP, the police, the NBI, the DOJ, uh, whether to investigate him. Of course, they will not investigate him because he is the boss. So
And
that's
that's a very
why this
important
is a
point, Justice. You're talking about, you're saying the rot at the core of the apple is it comes from the executive to begin with. And I want to ask a
yes.
question about that. Menardo Guevara, what's up with that? I mean, he recuse himself? Like, what's going? Why is he even there? I don't get it. I mean, hasn't he been for some? I mean, some have been saying he's essentially an enabler of Duterte, right? He has been kicking the can down there. Why is he even there?
Well, he is saying that uh, his position has always been that the ICC has no jurisdiction over Duterte. But the Supreme Court already ruled on that. The Supreme Court
Kaya nga,
ruled
hindi ko
that,
maintindihan. Why is he even hired? I mean, is he hired there to
yeah,
spread false information?
yeah, that argument has been demolished already by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court unanimously said that the Philippines has a duty to cooperate, and ICC has jurisdiction over crimes committed while the Philippines
The residual
was a
jurisdiction.
member of the ICC,
The
was
result.
part was a treaty party to the Rome Statute. So how can he keep on insisting that uh, that has been their position, that the ICC has no jurisdiction? The Supreme Court already unanimously said that the ICC retains jurisdiction over offenses committed while we were a party to the Rome Statute. I mean, for him to use that argument is totally baseless.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why is he there? Why is he hired? I mean,
Well, that means his
nothing
loyalty
smart. I
is
mean,
to Duterte
di ba
because,
Medial Dia law firm, I mean, they're buddies with Medial Dia, right? I mean, they're
well, he's a partner, but he
partners, right?
was the deputy executive secretary of Duterte, and he became the Justice Secretary, Department of Justice Secretary of Duterte for a
Could
long
he
time.
also held accountable? Could he?
Well, and he did not initiate any investigation because he took over from Aguirre. Remember that, so he should have started the investigation on the extrajudicial killings, but he did not.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, I just want to be fair to Harry Roque. I think, in fairness to Harry Roque, compared to this guy, I think this guy had more direct role in shielding Duterte, right? Than Harry Roque. Harry Roque was just doing Harry Roque stuff as a spokesman. But speaking of, parati ako, nasaan si Bato? Ganun ako, no? But actually, nasaan si Aguirre? Isn't Aguirre also kind of implicated here?
Well, I think he's in the second batch of those to be arrested. To be,
Oh,
yeah. So, but this is very strange for the Solicitor General to refuse to defend the government because the government, the president himself said that we cooperated with Interpol, and he didn't, if he has to follow that line, if uh, because that's the directive from the president to use that Interpol theory. But he said no, the ICC has no jurisdiction. That has been my position ever since. That's what he was saying. But that has been debunked by the Supreme Court unanimously.
The Justice, maybe you can just tell me off the record, why on earth is he there? That's also what Trillanes has been asking. Sino ba? Ang bata ni Digong yan, why is he even there? Kaya I have suspicion, baka was he being used to pass on wrong information. But anyway, I don't want to get into those things. I'm just, yeah, it makes you think, diba? It really, it beggars the question, like, why is he even there to begin with, considering everything, right? His position, his questionable his questionable take, whatever. Now let's talk about Bato. So Bato is asking sanctuary in the Senate. Is he saying that ano siya, feeling niya ano siya, Trillanes siya, basically ganun? Can we clarify that the two cases are not the same if ever that's the line of argument he wants to draw?
Well, the Constitution says that no member of the Senate, while the Senate is in session,
Yan. Ayan na yung session thing. Baka nga mag-session na sila.
can be arrested for an offense punishable by more than 6 years imprisonment. I mean, punishable by less than
Less than 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
But this is the
Way
punishment
more.
here will be more than 6 years. So he cannot invoke that provision. So I don't know why even Senate President Cheese is saying that he will not allow the the arresting officers to enter the Senate. But the immunity is only while the Senate is in session, and the offense is punishable by less than 6 years imprisonment.
Baka, Justice, he will ask what is, baka mag-philosophical, parang yung fourth week, parang, what is the 6 years in the great scheme of life? Magaganon na naman siya. He'll come, what is session? What is session? Let me think about that. Baka like, is he gonna play that epistemological, ontological game na naman? I mean, he has been dragging his foot on the fourth week issue. I'm sure he's gonna come up with a smart way to drag his foot on the oh, are we in session or not? Wait, but Aimee is calling for a hearing or something? Hindi ba Aimee, so Aimee is gonna create the session? And then if there's a session, then
Yeah,
pinagdasarin ang gulo na to.
he's calling a committee hearing to investigate whether the turnover of President Duterte was in accordance with Philippine law. But that's already being litigated now in the Supreme Court. That's the main case now because the TRO cannot be issued anymore because Duterte has left already. It's now in with the ICC. So the remaining issue is was there a violation of Philippine law? That is still a case, live issue. So I don't know why the Senate will delve into that when it's the very issue now before the Supreme Court.
I think we all know the answer for that, especially if Cheese is still there. I'm not sure how long that guy will last as the Senate President. The right things are going, but bahala na siya, and I'm not sure how saan si Aimee, saan pupulitin si Aimee. I mean, considering her very tricky situation. So if you're Bato right now, better escape na ba? I mean, ako kasi ang problema ko kay Bato is, hindi ba loyal soldier siya ni Digong? Isn't it the logical step for him to be next to Tatay Digong? I mean, this is his chance, di ba, to prove he is the loyal soldier.
But he didn't even go to Hong Kong.
Hindi, busy daw siya sa elections and all. Like, wow.
But he said that he didn't go to Hong Kong because he received information that a warrant of arrest will be issued.
Ayan tayo eh. Yan na naglalabasan na yung totoo. Tama talaga si Senator Trillanes, no? Mayabang laman siya. Make my day! Make my day! Siya kay Trillanes. Tapos ngayon biglang tinatanong na siya sa radyo. Di ba? Purong radyo na lang interview niya. Saan po kayo, sir? Nandito po ba kayo, sir? Bakit? Ba't nandito po lang? Kasama ba yung sa tanong mo? Oh, nandito ako. Bakit? I mean, Bato School of Arts and Drama obviously is not gonna work in ICC as we saw with Medial Dia. Like Medial Dia really like I think it immediately nagsink in kay Medial Dia. This is a real court, right? Like they're not gonna mess around. So I think Bato watching what happened the other day, like, oh my goodness, kahit anong iyak niya dyan, walang mangyari. Are you expecting a showdown in the Senate, or you think eventually Escudero will nicely tell Bato, can you just go out through the back door and bahala ka na sa buhay mo? Parang nangyari. Di ba? Parang essentially the Lacson scenario, right?
Well, remember, by June, there will be the Senate will expire. I mean, the Congress will have a new term, and there could be a new Senate president. So uh, everything is fluid right now. So, and right now, the Senate is not in session. So he can be arrested actually now if the warrant of arrest comes out. The Senate is not in session. He's only protected if the Senate is in session. So he
Yan nga
cannot
nangyari
invoke that.
sila. Because of the Sara thing, ayaw nila mag-session. Magma-microblade lang sila. Ngayon naman biglang, oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, probably what Bato will do is he will ask that the Senate go into session.
Yeah, exactly. Which opens up the Sara impeachment case. Forthwith, di ba?
And then the impeachment case can proceed.
That's what I'm saying. Ang dami nilang problema. Ipit-ipit yung mga kamay nila. You know? I mean, wow. Justice, I know this is a very technical question. Pag nahuli din si Bato, are they gonna group hate them? Are they gonna like, di ba yung mga nangyari sa Egypt, nilagay sa cage? Lahat yung mga... Are they gonna put them inside one cubicle? Gana ba yan? In a glass cubicle? Magsasama-sama. I'm sorry. I'm
Well,
sorry.
well, I think Bato will go the same way as the president. He will just follow. Because,
What, from video also or hindi na may in person na yan siguro, 'di ba? He'll be in
yeah,
person.
Bato will just voluntarily climb the stairs of the airplane, just like Duterte. At the end of the day, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Because di ba, resistance is futile.
I mean, imagine ko isasama sila sa isang glass
Yeah,
tapos na cubicle.
katulad nga sinabi ni Gerald Torre kay Presidente, sabi niya, we can do this the hard way or we can do this the easy way.
Parang mga mafia movie lang yun, ha? In a corner, okay. My friend, we have two ways to do this. The hard way or my way. Like, grabe naman yan. My gosh, this is, I mean, justice. I mean, we're very objective on this. I mean, definitely our emotions have nothing to do with what's happening here. But I mean, this is, it's really a gallery of rogues, no? I mean, it's clownery, right? I mean, this whole thing is a clown show, right? If you think about it. So kaya,
Yes, but the underlying rationale for all of this, the underlying fact, the factual background of all of this are 30,000 corpses.
that's what I'm saying, Justice. Because that's the people are saying Richard, why? But my point is that it's a dark humor situation. Like it's so ridiculous, right? They commit so much crime allegedly, and then they're so incompetent. It's such a weird combination. You usually think like parang Kremlin, KGB, like a cold case, ganun. Ito hindi. It's like a circus, and then at the same time, it's like a blood fest. It's really a weird situation, isn't it, Justice?
Yeah, it's really weird because first of all, Duterte was saying that sasampalin niya yung mga judges. I mean, if he says that now, then of course the judges will be convicted. So he has to be
Yeah,
very,
I mean,
very proper now.
ultimately this looks like hubris, no? Right? Their own legend, fake legend, caught up with them, right? It looks like they believe too much their own budol, and their budol ate them in the end, right? If you live by budol, you get caught by budol, right? Parang ganun nangyari. So, is BBM? I'll ask that question again. Is our understanding is BBM in the end just did what he had to do, or he's acting actually much smarter than we thought? And what should be the next move now for BBM?
Well, I think
For impeachment of Sara,
this.
basically.
Well, I think this is happening. That BBM decided to turn him over to the ICC because Duterte threatened to kill BBM and Sara threatened to kill BBM. It boils down to that. I mean, if you threaten to kill me, I will send you to the ICC, and there you'll just have to explain how you got away killing 30,000 people.
So basically, pare, pasensya na lang ha. Kasalanan mo to, ginusto mo yan eh. Parang ganun basically eh. Pare, ginusto mo yan. Ayaw ko mangyari yan. Ginusto mo yan. Parang basically ganun.
Well, yeah, because if you threaten to kill someone, I mean, he has to find a way to stop you if he believes that you are going to do it. Either he gets at you first or sends you away to be locked in a jail, and that's exactly what happened here.
But that again tells you the chutzpah, right, of Duterte's. They know they have this active case against them, right? They know their vulnerabilities. And yet, sinampal-sampal lang nila si BBM figuratively, which tells you the hubris, right? The folly. They knew
Yeah,
they had this Damocles sword, and yet they still parang halos sinusulsul so BBM ano mo na ba parang ganun nangyari, di ba? Justice, this looks like weird. This is neurotic to me. Why would they do that, right? Yeah.
yeah, because they that's impunity. They thought that they were beyond the reach of anyone. They were above the law. After with those
Getting
kind of
away so long.
killings,
Yeah.
yeah, you think that you can do anything. You think that everybody is afraid of you.
Now, last point though, it looks like the card of the Dutertes right now is, well, malabo na they can put big rallies here, whatever. I don't even talk about the peace rally thing, right? Mahabang usapan yan. But it looks like they're not in a position to pull off something big here in Manila, or maybe Davao is the only major city they can do that. But ang sense ko, and I mean, I experienced that personally from how they twisted my words and all to make it look, oh, lahat tayo, we're like elitists looking down at, tapos, bati ito si Mig Zubiri, kung ano-anong pinopost niya, kung ano-anong pinopost ng lahat, yung mayor ng Cotabato, kung sino-sino gano'n, kung sino-sino dyan na may kaso, gano'n. I mean, this looks to me like there's a line probably there in Mindanao, or pressure on politicians to stand with Duterte to make this look as if ito ay assault on the whole Mindanao people, essentially, on the whole solid south, whatever you want to. It looks to me like that kasi online, Justice, I don't know how active you're online, but sobrang active na yung machine ng Duterte. I know this because we experienced that at the height of Duterte's power, right? It feels as if they're still in power. The level of presence they have online. I mean,
Yeah, but a lot of that is fake news. I
well,
mean,
it's absolutely fake news. But how are they funding all of this fake news? Where's the
well,
money?
they have a lot of funds, they have a lot of money, but it boils down to the military. Will the military follow the commander in chief, or will they follow Duterte? I don't think the military will split. I think they will just follow the chain of command. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what matters. I have this understanding that what's holding the country together is really the military because of the chain of command.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We remove the chain of command, the military is on its own. But they will. They've been taught, it has been drilled into their minds that they have to follow the chain of command. And so they will follow the chain of command.
The military was also the one that held the line. Otherwise, I think we would have been a complete dictatorship during Duterte's time pa lang. I mean, 2017, he wanted to go
Yeah.
on white martial law. So they have it. But so again, I think everyone knows where I stand on this. I believe the military is professional. Nevertheless, Duterte had 6 years to get some people up the ranks. Some people get the 2-star, 3 stars. Maybe I'm not sure how much deserving some of them. He increased the salary. There are cases of some policemen supposedly resigning in support of Digong. You think those are isolated cases? Nothing's too serious.
Well, there are reports of those supposedly who resigned, but I cannot verify. There's none. I mean, these are just
It
stories
could be
going
also
around.
fake news, right? Actually, one
Yeah.
of them was caught red-handed. Yung asawa niya mismo or something like that, sabi niya, anong pinagsasabi mo? Last year ka pa parang pinatanggal. At hanggang ngayon, hindi mo pa rin binayaran yung mga gastos ng anak mo, di ba? Yung parang napahiya talaga, Justice. Di ba? Parang budol talaga eh. But unfortunately, Justice, I mean, from our own experiences, it's also very easy to trigger people, di ba? Like, in my case, they just made a meme taking my words out of context. Ang dami na nagalit. No one even bothered to check the other side, to context, ganon. My sense kasi is with Duterte is they're master agitators. They're not very smart. They're not very sophisticated. They're not very competent, but they're very good in agitating, triggering, weaponizing emotions. Di ba? Parang medyo magaling sila. Agitator talaga sila eh. So,
Yeah,
mm,
they're good at that, but I don't think they can sway the military because at the end of the day, it's r- really whether you can ask the military to join you or not. Because it's,
goes
you
down to
can
that.
sway the massa, but that will not result in a revolution or in a coup d'etat. You would really have to concentrate on the military. But I think the military is intact, it will follow the chain of command. It's a professional military.
You have the General Torre in police there. What about police? Isn't it more hopeful case that you have someone like General Torre there in charge, more or less? That the police also will more or less hold it together?
Yeah, well, the police is more problematic compared to the military, but that can be solved over time uh, through teaching them the value of human rights and to 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 just do away, reject these extrajudicial killings. It's basically telling them that extrajudicial killing is anathema. I mean, nobody wants you to do that, so don't do it.
Yun nga, but just as my problem is, I mean, I notice it myself. Like not many people are paying attention to the suffering of these people. I mean, I had posts about the victims and all, and it looks like people just don't want to. Mas interesado pa sila na mukhang kawawa si Digong. Do we have an false empathy problem? Do we have this champion of the strong na naawa tayo sa mga alleged criminals rather than actually mga powerless, voiceless people who just were snuffed out of existence? Do we
Well,
have a kind of a fatalistic problem, if I can put it that way?
I think that's due to the social media campaign of the Dutertes. I mean, the government will have to do its part to counter this. I think it's a social media war, but that will remain in the social media. It will not. It will not change the sentiment of the military. It will remain professional. So this will slowly die down over time. And
Ingay lang yan nila.
Duterte,
Oh. Yeah.
yeah, if he doesn't die ahead earlier, there will be a decision against him, the way I look at it.
And disqualification is not very possible, right? Against Digong. I think Comelec's idea is basically this goes down to the vice mayor, right? And that
Yeah,
potentially makes
yeah.
the vice mayor race the key one, yeah.
Assuming that Duterte still wins the election this May, and he cannot, of course, assume office, then whoever is the vice mayor who's elected will take over.
So walang grounds for disqualification against him, no? Or parang mahirap yun, no?
Unless there's a final conviction, there is none yet.
Hmm. That could be the only ground, and the ballots and all are there. So siguro ang pwedeng gawin lang ng kabila sa ay wag niyong botohin ng sayang lang boto ni Jan, di ba? I mean, that's basically what you can do, di ba? Uh last point, Justice, again, you have a background from Mindanao and all. I understand the grievances against so-called Imperial Manila, but we also know there's so many so-called obese political dynasties, meaning lahat na isang family control of everything, a lot of warlordism, etc. If you're BBM, how do you make sure they don't side with the other side and they're on your side? You use the
Well,
machine, the levers of state, basically.
well, that that concept of Imperial Manila has been debunked because Duterte became president for 6 years. He already controlled Manila, uh, and so I don't think that will resonate. It's still a bread and butter issue in Mindanao. It's still employment, high prices, inflation, and so on. So it's just like the rest of the country, I think.
Interesting. Interesting. So, you think medyo oversold yung idea na yan. Ako, I realize, kaya pala na-hurt din ng maraming tao. Hindi lang dahil yung, the comparison of HDI to some countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. It's also the idea that you had 6 years of Duterte pero still behind pa rin ang Mindanao. So that means Duterte was quite incompetent, right? Parang ganun din yung implication. And I realized actually, oh nga, no, they'll be quite defensive also on that. So I actually used 2019, 2020 data. There's actually apparently 2022 data, but still, lots of Mindanao is in the medium range, which is still a bit of farther from the rest. Like, Benguet is almost zero point 0.9, for instance, right? And a lot of provinces in Mindanao are zero point 0.6 to zero point 0.7, for instance, or less than zero point 0.7. Again, I'm asking you because for a lot of us who are not from Mindanao, our sense is baka Duterte's may have still this magic, right, to galvanize and support. You just don't think that's the case, right? You think there's just going to be some noise and some drama here and there and all of this blah blah blah, but it will eventually pass over.
Yeah, I don't think they will. They have the capacity to cause Mindanao to secede. That's basic. I don't think they have a capacity to mount a rebellion there because you need the military to do that. So they could cause trouble. They could agitate the MILF or the MNLF, but that can be handled by the military.
And lastly, could this go down to Bongo eventually carrying the torch, right? Because I don't know if Bongo will end up number one. He's number one in surveys, but we know if you're not admin, the final numbers might not really be on your side because that's where the machinery, the command vote, and all comes in. But do you think that Bongo is potentially positioning himself as the heir apparent here, and that could mean Sara being marginalized, and by extension Robin Hood Padilla, di ba? Kasi yung dream team nila is Sara, Robin Hood, di ba? Robin Hood topped the race, Sara already is vice president. But do you think now we're moving towards a direction whereby actually Bongo could be the one to carry the torch eventually, or at least try to this time?
Well, in terms of the highest ranking public official, elected public official, it's Bongo after Sara, of course. But remember, Bongo is also could also be issued a warrant of arrest because he was transmitting the orders of Duterte to the
Accessory.
yeah to the death squad. I mean, uh, so
Paano matitira sa kanila? Sino pong matira? Si Omar? I mean, like, I mean, between Sara and Bongo, who's more vulnerable to that? I mean, this is a hunch, right? Who should be more worried about warrant of arrest? Bongo or
I
Sara?
think they're equally vulnerable.
Because Sara was the mayor and there were also things that
Uh,
happened.
Yeah, because well, when Sarah was the mayor, she continued the EJ case. It continued, and there is a testimony by Las Cañas that uh, Sarah continued it.
So should you still impeach Sara or you should just wait for the
Well, I don't know what they will do, but uh, the fact that Duterte is not around anymore, I think they will those for the impeachment of Sarah will push it now harder.
Yun nga, kaya na-sense ko, there's also gonna be that Mindanao thing, pressure on, I don't know, Mig Zubiri, some of the Mindanao or the other candidates. Now, if you do this, the whole Mindanao will fight back against you, blah, blah. Thank you so much, Justice Carpio, for that very comprehensive discussion. I would have loved to discuss to you also our favorite leader in the world, Donald Trump. Medyo nakalimutan ko na si Trump. Actually, this is the only week na hindi ko inisip masyado si Donald Trump dahil ang dami nangyari sa bansa natin, no? It takes a Duterte to distract you from a Trump. I can't believe it. Like every day I was like Trump did, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that. Kasi kanina may kasama ko mga Johns Hopkins University. They were here in town and I was giving a lecture and all. And like parang biglang boring ng Trump, parang mas exciting na naman ang Philippine politics, 'di ba? Diba? Like something like, just Elon Musk messing around. Sorry, yeah, I mean, sorry na lang, but Philippines is crazier, right? Once again, we're back in the pole position. Thank you so much, Justice Carpio. I know you have a lot to catch up on in the coming weeks and all. My best wishes to you, and I look forward to catching up with you in person and God willing, also in terms of lecture and all. All I can say is your presence is always appreciated, Justice. I'm telling you that when it comes to authority, when it comes to passion and love, you're always one of the most respected, if not the most respected guest on this show. So maraming salamat, Justice, for always lending your time to the little show, this sub-European show that we have here, Deep Dive with Richard Haydarian. Salamat, Justice. Is there anything you want to add before we close this? Do you want to say something
Uh,
about let's still be hopeful or something? I mean, this, makasaysayan pa rin to, di ba? I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah, this is a very big deal. I mean, I never expected this to happen, that he will be arrested. I expected the warrant of arrest to be issued, but this is more than a bonus. He was actually arrested because he miscalculated. He returned here. So uh, we have a new environment, a new scenario now. So it's getting to be more interesting. So thank you also, Richard, and thank you to our viewers.
Thank you, Justice. And don't worry, once we have an update with Bato or Aguirre or the rest of the gang, I will knock on your proverbial door. Maraming salamat po. God bless and talk to you soon.
Okay.
God bless po. Thank you so much, sir.